I had been planning our 2-year anniversary celebration for weeks. The apartment was almost ready. Candles lit, decorations almost hung when I slipped off the ladder. The pain shot through my ankle immediately. Amanda rushed over, concern in her eyes. But then her phone buzzed. Her expression changed as she read the text from her friends about their club plans. I could see the internal debate on her face, torn between helping me or joining them. What she chose to do next broke more than just my ankle. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. If this story resonates with you, hit that subscribe button, because trust me, the way I handled what came after changed everything about how I view relationships. My name is Freeman. I am 32 years old and work as a software developer for a tech company in downtown Seattle. 2 years ago, I met Amanda at a mutual friend's housewarming party. She was 28, gorgeous, with a sharp wit and an infectious laugh that caught my attention immediately. She worked as a marketing executive for a cosmetics company, and our conversation that night flowed effortlessly. We exchanged numbers, went on our first date the following weekend, and quickly became inseparable. The first year of our relationship was something out of a fairy tale. We complemented each other perfectly. I was more introverted and analytical, while she brought spontaneity and social energy into my life. We traveled together, met each other's families, and eventually decided to move in together after 14 months of dating. Our apartment in Capitol Hill was small but modern, with a stunning view of the city skyline that we both fell in love with. We would often spend evenings on our tiny balcony drinking wine and talking about our future together. Looking back, there were subtle red flags I chose to ignore. Amanda maintained an active social circle, which I initially found admirable. Her group of friends, mostly single women, who enjoyed the nightlife scene, would often plan outings that excluded partners. Amanda would insist these were important to maintain her independence. I respected her space, but there were times when she would cancel our plans last minute if something more exciting came up with her friends. I convinced myself this was just her vibrant personality and not a reflection of her priorities. Our 2-year anniversary was approaching, and I wanted to make it special. I had taken the day off work to prepare a surprise dinner at home. I planned to cook her favorite meal, Pacific Northwest salmon, with roasted vegetables and a special dessert I had ordered from the bakery where we had our first date. I had even splurged on a pair of sapphire earrings that matched her eyes, perfectly hidden in a small velvet box beside her plate. The accident happened around 4 in the afternoon. I was hanging string lights across our living room ceiling to create a romantic atmosphere. Standing on our ladder, I stretched to reach the far corner when I felt the ladder wobble beneath me. In an instant, I was falling. I tried to catch myself, but landed awkwardly, my full weight twisting my right ankle with a sickening crack. The pain was immediate and excruciating. I collapsed onto the floor, clutching my ankle, which was already beginning to swell dramatically. Amanda had been in the bedroom getting ready for a workout when she heard me fall. She rushed into the living room, dropping to her knees beside me. "Freeman, are you okay? What happened?" Her voice was filled with concern as she placed her hand on my shoulder. "The ladder," I gasped through waves of pain. "My ankle. I think it is broken." She helped me onto the couch carefully, lifting my leg and propping it up with cushions. The swelling was getting worse by the minute, and the ankle was turning an alarming shade of purple. Amanda brought ice from the freezer and wrapped it in a kitchen towel. "We need to get you to the hospital," she said, pressing the ice against my ankle. I winced at the contact but nodded in agreement. As she was searching for her car keys, her phone chimed with a message. She glanced at it, then again, more intently. I noticed her expression shift subtly. She typed a quick response before looking back at me, but something had changed in her demeanor. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to sit up and immediately regretting it as pain shot through my leg. "Just Sophia," she replied, referring to her closest friend. "She wants to know if I am coming out tonight. It is her birthday celebration." "Oh," I said, surprised. "You did not mention that earlier." Amanda shrugged her eyes, darting back to her phone as it chimed again. "It was kind of last minute. They are going to that new club downtown that just opened." The pain in my ankle was becoming unbearable. "Can you drive me to the hospital now? I really think I need an X-ray." "Yeah, of course," she said, but I could already sense her growing impatience. As she helped me stand, supporting my weight as I hopped on one foot, her phone buzzed continuously. Each time, her attention drifted away from me, and I could feel her enthusiasm for the club night building, while her concern for me was fading. As we slowly made our way toward the door, Amanda kept checking her phone with her free hand. The messages were coming in rapid succession, now each one drawing more of her attention away from my injury. "Amanda, can you please focus? I can barely walk." I grimaced, leaning heavily against her shoulder. "I am focusing," she replied defensively, but slipped her phone into her pocket. "But Sophia just sent the details. They have VIP tables and bottle service tonight. The whole group is going." We paused at the doorway as I caught my breath. The pain was pulsating through my entire leg now. I understand it is her birthday, but I literally cannot walk. I need medical attention. Amanda set me down on the entryway bench and crossed her arms. "Look, Freeman, I know you are hurt, but the hospital is just 2 miles away. Could you maybe call an Uber? That way I would not miss the whole night." I stared at her, unable to process what I was hearing. "Are you serious right now? You want to go clubbing while I am sitting in an emergency room?" "It is probably just a sprain," she said dismissively, glancing at my ankle. "They will give you some pain meds and a wrap, and you will be back home in a couple of hours." This is Sophia's 30th birthday. She has been planning this for months. And I have been planning our anniversary for weeks. I countered, gesturing to the half-decorated apartment, the unfinished meal preparation in the kitchen. Amanda sighed heavily, as if I was being unreasonable. "We can celebrate when you feel better. It is not even our actual anniversary until Saturday." My ankle throbbed painfully, but the ache in my chest was worse. In 2 years together, I had never seen this side of her so clearly. "I cannot believe you are even considering leaving me like this." She checked her phone again, and her expression brightened at whatever message she had received. That was the moment I knew I had already lost. She walked to the bathroom without another word. I could hear her rummaging through her makeup bag. When she returned, she had refreshed her lipstick and was carrying her purse. "The first Uber is 4 minutes away," she said, not meeting my eyes. "I added my card to your account, so it will be covered. Text me when you get home from the hospital." "Okay, I will check on you tomorrow." The finality of her decision left me speechless. She placed my phone and wallet next to me on the bench, leaned down to plant a quick kiss on my forehead, and then she was gone. The door closed behind her, and I was alone with my pain and disbelief. For several minutes I just sat there, stunned. The throbbing in my ankle seemed distant compared to the shock of being abandoned. Eventually I reached for my phone and ordered the Uber. The app showed the driver was 3 minutes away. I would somehow have to make it downstairs to the street level on my own. Getting down to the sidewalk was a humiliating ordeal. I could not put any weight on my right foot, so I had to hop and crawl down 3 flights of stairs, pausing frequently as waves of pain and nausea washed over me. By the time I reached the building entrance, I was drenched in sweat and fighting back tears, not just from the physical pain. The Uber driver, a middle-aged man named Carlos, took one look at me and jumped out to help. "Man, you do not look good. Hospital right, let me help you." With his assistance, I made it into the back seat. As we drove to the emergency room, I checked my phone, some irrational part of me hoping Amanda had changed her mind and was on her way to meet me. Instead, I saw her Instagram story update. A selfie with Sophia and their friends, cocktails in hand, with the caption, "Birthday Queen Night. Let the celebrations begin." The emergency room was predictably packed. I waited for almost 2 hours before seeing a doctor, all while fielding concerned texts from my sister Taylor and my friend Jake, who I had messaged about the situation. Not a single message from Amanda. The X-rays confirmed what I had suspected: a severe fracture that would require surgery. The doctor explained that the break was complex and would need pins to properly heal. They scheduled the surgery for first thing in the morning and admitted me overnight for observation and pain management. As I lay in the hospital bed that night, my phone notification light blinked. For a moment, hope flared that it was Amanda checking on me. Instead, it was another Instagram notification. My girlfriend was dancing on a table in her story update, clearly having the time of her life while I waited for surgery alone. The nurse who came to check my vitals noticed my expression. "You okay, honey? Pain getting worse." "Not the physical pain," I answered honestly. She glanced at my phone screen and gave me a knowing look. "Let me guess. Someone who should be here is not." I nodded, surprised at how easily tears came to my eyes. "Well, their loss," she said kindly, adjusting my IV. "But for what it is worth, people show you who they really are in a crisis. Better to know now than later, right?" As I drifted off into medicated sleep, those words echoed in my mind. People show you who they really are in a crisis. Amanda had shown me exactly where I stood in her priorities, and it was nowhere near the top. The next morning, as I was being prepped for surgery, my phone rang. It was Jake, my best friend from college, who lived just a few blocks from our apartment. "Dude, I just got your messages. I am so sorry I was in a work meeting all night for that Tokyo project. I am heading to the hospital now. What room are you?" In his immediate response to drop everything and come support me, stood in stark contrast to Amanda's behavior. Jake arrived 20 minutes later, just before they were about to wheel me into the operating room. "Man, you look terrible," he said, but his presence was comforting. "Thanks for coming," I replied, genuinely grateful. Jake squeezed my shoulder. "Of course I came. That is what friends do." There was an edge to his voice that told me he had more to say about Amanda's absence. As the orderlies prepared to take me to surgery, Jake promised to be there when I woke up. "And Freeman," he added, his expression serious, "we need to talk about Amanda when you are feeling better." The surgery took just over 2 hours. When I regained consciousness in the recovery room, Jake was true to his word, sitting in a chair beside my bed reading a magazine. My sister Taylor had also arrived, having driven in from Tacoma as soon as Jake called her. "There he is," Taylor said, setting down her coffee. "How are you feeling, big brother?" Like someone took a hammer to my ankle, I mumbled, still groggy from anesthesia. "Well, they basically rebuilt it," Jake said. "Doctor said it went well. 6 pins and a plate. You will be setting off airport security for the rest of your life." I attempted a smile, then asked the question I already knew the answer to. "Has Amanda called?" The look that passed between Jake and Taylor told me everything. "Not exactly," Jake said carefully, "but she has been posting on social media all morning. Looks like they closed down the club and went for breakfast after." Taylor, who had never warmed to Amanda, could not hide her anger. "Freeman, I have held my tongue about her for too long. This is unacceptable. What kind of person goes clubbing when their partner is in the hospital?" Taylor, Jake cautioned, but she was on a roll. "No, he needs to hear this. This is not the first time she has shown her true colors. Remember Christmas when she bailed on our family dinner because her ex was having a house party, or when she went to Cancun with her friends. Instead of being there for your promotion celebration, I had made excuses for Amanda on both of those occasions. The Christmas dinner conflict had been a misunderstanding. The Cancun trip had been planned months in advance. But lying in that hospital bed with hardware freshly installed in my ankle, I could not conjure any more excuses." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "Look, man, we all saw it, but you were so happy that none of us wanted to be that friend, the one who points out the obvious. But Amanda has always put herself first. Every time without fail. She makes you feel like you are asking for too much," Taylor added, "when all you are asking for is basic consideration." Their words were difficult to hear but impossible to deny. As the morning wore on, they shared other observations from the past 2 years, small moments where Amanda had revealed her self-centered nature that I had willfully overlooked. Around noon, as Jake went to get lunch for all of us, the door to my hospital room opened. Amanda stood there, looking immaculate, despite her night of partying. Her makeup was fresh hair, perfectly styled, wearing the same clothes from yesterday, but somehow making them look intentional rather than like a walk of shame. "Hey," she said casually, as if dropping by for a regular visit. "How are you feeling?" Taylor stiffened beside me but said nothing, waiting for my response. "I had surgery this morning," I replied flatly. 6 pins and a plate in my ankle." Amanda winced slightly. "Ouch. That sounds painful." She stepped into the room but kept her distance from the bed. "Sorry I could not be here earlier. We were out pretty late, and I just needed a few hours of sleep." The lack of genuine remorse in her voice was startling. No acknowledgement of abandoning me. No recognition of how her actions had affected me. Just a casual comment about needing sleep after her night of fun. Taylor stood up abruptly. "I am going to get some coffee," she announced, giving me a meaningful look before leaving the room, clearly removing herself, before she said something she might regret. Once we were alone, Amanda moved closer, perching on the edge of my bed, but careful not to disturb my elevated leg. "So what is the recovery time for something like this?" 6 to 8 weeks, I said. "Limited mobility for at least the first 4. Physical therapy after that." She frowned slightly. "That long? What about work?" "I will work from home for a while. My boss already approved it." Amanda nodded, checking her phone as it buzzed with a notification. The gesture was so familiar now, the way her attention instantly diverted. always something more interesting than me. How was the party? I asked, unable to keep the edge from my voice. She brightened immediately. It was amazing. The club was incredible. You would have hated it though, way too crowded for you. Sophia got so drunk that she tried to take the DJ's headphones. She laughed at the memory, then seemed to remember my situation. But anyway, I am sure you had a much more exciting night. The casual dismissal of my traumatic experience was the final straw. A calm clarity washed over me, the kind that only comes with absolute certainty. Amanda, I interrupted her story about the club's overpriced drinks. This is not working. She paused, confusion crossing her face. What is not working? The pain medication. Us. This relationship. It is over. Her expression transformed from confusion to shock. Are you breaking up with me? Because of one night out. No, I said, surprised at how steady my voice was. I am breaking up with you because you left me injured and alone so you could go clubbing. Because when I needed you most, you chose a party. Because this is not the first time you have shown me where I rank in your priorities, but it is going to be the last. Amanda's shock quickly shifted to indignation. You are being completely dramatic. It was just a sprained ankle. Fractured, I corrected, requiring surgery and months of recovery. But even if it was just a sprain, that is not the point. The point is that you left me when I needed help. What kind of partner does that? I cannot believe you are doing this, she said, standing up now. You are overreacting because you are in pain. We will talk when you are thinking clearly. I have never thought more clearly, I replied. People show who they really are in a crisis. You showed me. Her face flushed with anger. Fine. If that is how you feel, I will go. But do not call me when you realize you cannot manage on your own and need help getting around the apartment. I would not dream of it, I said quietly. Jake and Taylor are already making arrangements for my recovery. People who actually care about me. Amanda grabbed her purse, her movements sharp with anger. You know what I did you a favor. Now you get to play victim and have everyone feeling sorry for you. Is that what you wanted all along? The accusation was so absurd that I almost laughed. What I wanted was a partner who would choose me in a crisis. Now please leave. She stormed out, nearly colliding with Jake, who was returning with lunch bags. He stepped aside to let her pass, then looked at me questioningly as he entered the room. Is everything okay? He asked cautiously. For the first time since the accident, I felt a sense of peace. Not yet, I answered honestly, but it will be. The next 6 weeks were among the most challenging of my life, but also unexpectedly transformative. Taylor insisted that I stay with her during the initial recovery period. Her spare bedroom became my temporary home, and her assistance with daily tasks was invaluable. She took 2 weeks of remote work to help me through the most difficult phase of recovery. Physical healing was a slow, often painful process. The surgical wounds needed regular care, and even the simplest movements required planning and assistance. Sleep was difficult, interrupted by discomfort, and the awkwardness of keeping my leg elevated. But through it all, I discovered a support network I had not fully appreciated while caught up in my relationship with Amanda. Jake visited several times a week, bringing food from my favorite restaurants and keeping me company during marathon movie sessions. Colleagues from work organized a meal train, ensuring Taylor and I had home-cooked dinners delivered regularly. My parents drove down from Vancouver twice, bringing comfort items from my childhood home and quiet, steady support that asked for nothing in return. 3 weeks after the surgery, I received the first text from Amanda. It was brief and carefully worded. Just checking how you are doing. Hope recovery is going well. I stared at the message for a long time before deciding not to respond. It was not malice or spite that guided my decision, but a newfound respect for my own boundaries. The text messages continued sporadically, growing increasingly personal. I miss you. I think we should talk. I made a mistake. Each one arrived like a test of my resolve, and each time I found it easier to maintain my silence. By week 5, I had progressed to using crutches independently and had begun light physical therapy. My therapist, a no-nonsense woman named Diana, pushed me to regain strength and mobility with the right balance of encouragement and tough love. Your body wants to heal, she told me, during a particularly challenging session. Sometimes we just need to get out of its way. Those words resonated beyond my physical recovery. My heart wanted to heal too, and part of that process was getting out of my own way, stopping the cycle of making excuses for someone who had consistently shown me I was not a priority. 6 weeks after the surgery, I moved back to Seattle, though not to the apartment I had shared with Amanda. Jake had a friend with a ground floor unit in a building with elevator access, perfect for someone still dealing with limited mobility. The fresh start in a new space felt right, unburdened by memories and expectations. Amanda came to collect her remaining belongings from our old place, while Jake helped me supervise the move. She looked different somehow, smaller, perhaps less confident in her bearing. We exchanged brief, polite words, carefully dancing around the elephant in the room. As she was leaving, she paused at the door. "I really am sorry, Freeman," she said quietly. "I know it does not change anything, but I wanted you to know that." I nodded, acknowledging her words without offering absolution. "Take care of yourself, Amanda." As the weeks turned into months, my physical recovery progressed steadily. The pins in my ankle would remain permanently, a metal reminder of both trauma and resilience. I returned to the office part-time, then full-time, finding unexpected joy in the routine and camaraderie of my workplace. Almost a year to the day after the accident, I ran into Amanda at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill. I had just finished a session with my therapist, the emotional kind this time. Therapy had been another unexpected gift of the past year, helping me understand my patterns and why I had accepted less than I deserved for so long. "Freeman," she said, genuine surprise in her voice as she spotted me in line. "You look great." "Thanks," I replied, finding that the sight of her no longer stirred the complex emotions it once had. "How have you been?" We chatted briefly, the conversation of two people who once knew each other intimately, but now moved in different worlds. She had changed jobs, was seeing someone new, seemed happy. I was genuinely glad for her. As our conversation wound down, she touched my arm lightly. "I really messed up with you, you know. What I did that night, leaving you when you were hurt, it was wrong. I see that now." The acknowledgement was unexpected but welcome. "Thank you for saying that." She smiled sadly. "You deserved better. I hope you find someone who knows that." We said goodbye without promises to stay in touch, both understanding that some chapters are meant to close completely. Walking back to my apartment, I reflected on the journey of the past year. The broken ankle had healed stronger than before. The broken heart had too. I had learned to recognize my worth, to demand respect, rather than merely hoping for it. Most importantly, I had learned that sometimes losing someone who does not truly value you is not a loss at all, but the first step toward finding people who do. The night of the accident had revealed a painful truth, one that I needed to see. You cannot build a future with someone who abandons you at your most vulnerable. That lesson, though brutally delivered, had ultimately set me free. I still had the sapphire earrings I had bought for our anniversary tucked away in a drawer. Someday, perhaps, I would find someone worthy of such a gift. Someone who would choose me, not just when it was convenient, but especially when it was not. Until then, I was content with the most important lesson of all, choosing myself. What about you? Have you ever discovered someone's true character during a crisis? Was there a moment when someone showed you exactly where you stood in their priorities? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more stories about life, relationships, and the lessons we learn along the way. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the most painful experiences lead to the most important growth.